Thank you for attending our webinar today. So we have here in Zach, our migration agent with over 10 years of experience. I'm Nicole Ting, the team lead admissions, and then Bianca, who's our student counselor and migration assistant. Together, our team will be assisting you with the education and migration side. So today we'll be discussing about the latest occupation list that was released last week, this month alone, this December 2024. So yeah, for any questions that you may have, please feel free to ask them at the end of the webinar. So yeah, I'll be sharing our presentation now. Oh, give me 1 second. I couldn't see the thing. Okay, so the title of the webinar today is the latest occupation list for employment-sponsored visa, presented by Zach Zhao, our registered migration agent. Disclaimer, the content of this webinar is for informational purposes only. Whilst every effort has been made to ensure the accuracy of the materials contained here and incorporated by reference, this presentation is not intended to constitute legal or immigration advice. We do not advise you to act on the basis of the material contained in this presentation without obtaining advice relevant to your individual circumstances. So we highly recommend taking professional advice on matters related to immigration. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for coming. I can see that a lot of people are here. I can't see it.
They can.
Oh, sorry, we have some technical issue. Can you confirm you can see the PowerPoint slides? I should choose shares. Oh. Hi, hopefully you can see and hear us now. Let's start over. My name is Zach. I work for Asia Pacific Group, and we are here to go through the changes recently for employment visa, TSS. Oh, previously known as TSS visa, but subclass 482. The changes happened last week, and it's a long anticipated update. There are a lot of good news and some things we need to pay attention to. So let's just go through them. First of all, it's a very strange thing, but they rebranded this visa just by name only. It's usually called used to be called temporary skilled shortage visa or TSS. Now it's just skilled in demand visa, SID or SID, which is catchier. So there are 3 streams in this new visa, especially the specialized skilled pathway, core skilled pathway, and essential skill pathway. I'll go through these 3 streams one by one. So first, of course, it's a specialist skill stream. I received so many questions about this stream, and here it is. First of all, the occupation list is still following the old ANSCO occupation list, which will be updated shortly, and they will make new changes into this stream. But at the moment, it's still the old ANSCO occupation stream, occupation list. And almost everything is included aside from group 3, 7, and 8, which are trade qualification, trade workers. So if you are a trade worker, you have to rely on other streams of this visa. Usually you cannot go through specialist skill stream, no matter how good you are. There is one income threshold, $135,000 a year. So if you are making this much of money with a contract and you are working for ANSCO group for professional occupations, you can apply for this visa. And this there's a newcomer. Welcome, welcome. So if you are applying for this visa, you need to make sure that your sponsor, your employer is able to sponsor this one of the occupations in the ANSCO, which is a very lengthy list. And then also, yeah, I'll pass it to you. And also, the income threshold is $135,000 per annual plus superannuation. By the way, this figure, this threshold will be adjusted every 1st of July from the next year onwards. So every year we will expect a small increase of this threshold. If you plan to apply for this application just after 1st of July, you need to prepare some room for your salary, and so you don't get caught off guard. Next string is going to be the page point. Next string is the core skills string, which is very similar to the previous 485 visa. So it has the same minimum income threshold. It's 73,150. Each occupation, no matter what you do, unless you have concessions apply with, it has to be paying this much of money. There's a bigger change in this string. It's the occupation list change. Now it's called core skills occupation list, or CSOL. This list has been updated from the previous list, and there are some surprises. Surprise occupation be into the list, and there are some surprise occupation be removed from the list, which are surprise. We'll discuss that later. But at the moment, all you have to remember is this string is the new PSS 482 string. It's highly similar with some welcoming changes. Next page. Next page is the third string called the labor agreement string. This is a very specialized string for people who has special concession requirement. For example, if the applicant is working in the regional area and for an occupation not on CSOL, maybe you can arrange a labor agreement. Or if you need age concession, English concession, or usually age and English, or salary concession, you may apply for a labor agreement stream. But I'm not going to spend too much time today because this is a very detailed, specialized string, and we need to do one-on-one consultation before we move forward. So what's this next page, please? Thank you. So another one of the major changes, which I refer to as a welcome change, is the work experience requirement. Now, not only they reduce the work experience requirement from 2 years to just 1 year, also they are accepting all type of working arrangements, full-time, part-time, casual, as long as you have 12-month full-time equivalent of experience for this visa. So it's provides a flexibility for this visa to be ready for you. But there's also change. There's also another change, but it's not very often mentioned. In the previous visa, when they say they need 2 years experience, it's at the time of decision requirement. So in theory, if you are missing 1 or 2 months of experience, you can just make the application, because the processing time is quite long right now. It's 5 to 7 months sometimes. So you can still complete your work experience requirement before the decision can be made. And sometimes it's quite safe to make this trick. But now in the new SID visa, the 1 year experience is strictly before the visa application, not even 1 day short, and it has to be within the last 5 years. For example, if you are lodging the application today, we can only consider the application from December 2019, and you have to provide at least 1 year full-time experience or part-time equivalent. Even if you have 1 month short, you will get a visa refusal, and there's no way to turn it back, because this is at the time of application requirement. It's not very often mentioned, but we have to be careful here. There's another change which provides flexibility. In the past, if you were on 482 visa, you want to apply for permanent residency, you have to be sponsored by the same employer for 2 years before you can be eligible. For example, if you work for the employer for 1 year, then you decide, okay, there's a better employer for me. You change your sponsorship, go to the new employer. You have to work for another 24 months before you can apply for the 186 permanent residency. But after last week, they decided, okay, this is quite unreasonable, and we changed the structure of the requirement, and now you can just accumulate the previous sponsorship as long as they are eligible and you are actually working for the employer on the pay level, salary level, and the occupation is in line with the nomination, and you can accumulate all the sponsored work period towards the permanent residency. Use the same example, you are working for company A for 6 months, and then you decide, okay, I'm a chef. For example, you're a chef, you work for restaurant number A for 6 months. Then you find a better job offer, and the restaurant B offered a better salary, better package to you. You start working for restaurant B. As long as your salary is above the nominated salary, and you are actually working as a chef, and you prove it, you can use the first 6 months into your 2-year requirement. So you work for another 1 year and 6 months, you will be eligible for permanent residency application for 186 visa. Also, it provides flexibility, so your employer will not be able to hold on you, say, if you leave, you waste so much time, and you have to keep working for me. So we can avoid a lot of, for example, employment exploitation, and that's the worst side of this industry. So this is also a very welcoming change. So, and the next thing is the caveats. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the caveats. So when you apply for the SID visa, 482 SID visa, some occupations will come with caveats. For example, if you are a chief executive level of the position, there will be a minimum salary above 73,150. I think it's 120,000. Actually, I cannot read the screen here. It's too small for me. But there are some caveats that applies to the occupation. And let me see. Oh, sorry, it's $180,000. So for some of the occupation, if they say the caveats apply, they will list the number here from this table. And in that way, when you apply for this visa, you need to make sure that you meet the additional requirement from this table. It's previously in 482 visa. For example, there are a few very famous caveats. If you are a chef, the position must not be from a fast food restaurant. It must not be from a takeaway venue, and it must not be from a low skill position. For example, you cannot claim to be a chef and work as a kitchen hand. Those caveats are transferred to this new list, and it's consolidated as well. So now we have 16 caveats from the previous 26. So it's much easier to understand. At the moment, if you are following the industry news, there is a caveat 14 under discussion. So caveat 14 says if you are working on the certain list of occupations, they only accept with international treaty agreement, for example, WTO agreement or other international trade agreements. So somehow occupation chef has these caveats. If the department really means what it is, it means that chef can only be sponsored from the countries, from the applicants from WTO countries or international trade obligation enabled countries. A lot of countries are left out, and the department suddenly this change applied to this, and a lot of people are asking questions. And I think from Tuesday this week, department made an announcement that this is not the intention of this caveat, and they didn't say it, but my personal belief is that this part of the legislation was poorly drafted and is so confusing. I'm not even sure if they are clear what it means. But department made a very clear announcement saying that at the moment the chef can still be sponsored by from any country's passports. So no matter where you're from, as long as you are eligible as a chef, you can be sponsored. And later on, they said they are going to make amendments to make this more clear. So if you read any news about this, the current standing is, it doesn't matter where you're from, as long as you are eligible, you can be sponsored as a chef. So what's in and what's out? As I mentioned, in this CSOL, there are a lot of changes in the occupations. So there are some occupations being added to this list. For example, cybersecurity specialist and data analyst, which is highly anticipated. So these are the occupations being added to the list. There are some being discussed, but not exactly in the list, went into the list. For example, the retail manager now in the list. It was in the list previously, but there are a lot of restrictions. We don't usually consider it as a list in the skill demand list. But now, retail manager is in this list without those restrictions. So any retail store can sponsor their manager, which is very popular. And also there is a childcare worker on the list. Previously, childcare center manager was on the list, but for newly graduates, it's not realistic. So we were trying many ways to make childcare workers on the list, but it was a regional only occupation, and with some special conditions. For example, it has to be childcare worker team leader instead of just worker itself. So now it's much easier to use these occupations for skill visa. For 482 visas. And they also removed quite a few occupations from the list. For example, farmers and growers. These I suspect will still be on the labor agreement list later on. So they are still making some changes. And also the arts and entertainment occupations, a lot of them have removed. Most surprisingly, they removed graphic designer, which is such a decent occupation and also in demand. But they decided, oh, we want to remove the graphic designer. And there is one more occupation that's being removed from the list, which is a hotel and motel manager. It's also removed without much explanation, and it was such a popular occupation. So we're still trying to find ways to help the hotel motel manager occupations. And also, yeah, journalists were removed. Copywriter was removed. Copywriter is also one of the occupation that's popular, but yeah, they decided to remove it. So we're trying to find other ways for these occupations. For example, the marketing specialist list is still on the list, and a lot of copywriters, they write copies advertisement, so they might involve advertisement campaigns and plans. So we may consider going through marketing specialist occupations. One last thing I want to mention before I open the floor for questions is that we mentioned the term ANSCO. ANSCO is the I call it dictionary for all the occupations in Australia and New Zealand. So we heavily rely on this list for when we consider occupations for any visas. When department decide, for example, CSOL list, they refer to ANSCO. And early next year, they are going to abolish ANSCO and introduce a new thing called OSCAR, O-S-A-R. Sorry, O-S. Sorry. OSCAR. Anyway, it's a new list. It's not OSCA, OSCAR list. So there will be a new list. I'm sure there will be a lot of changes in and out of between ANSCO and OSCAR list. And a lot of visa conditions will change. For example, the specialist stream, it's now referring to ANSCO. After they change to the new OSCAR list, I assume that I expect that they are going to refer to the new, which means that a lot of occupations has to make changes when they want to apply for permanent residency or even temporary visas. I think that's all we need to cover right now. And we want to open the floor to the questions, but we want to also want to introduce our team and office. So yeah, please, Nicole, just give us a quick brief of our office, please.
Okay, so we have a video here of the Melbourne team, as well as where the office is located here on level 7 to 78 Collins Street.
Which never plays.
Really?
Yeah.
I doesn't want to play again.
Yeah, he doesn't want to play on this computer somehow. It's a quite interesting video, and you can find it on social platforms.
Yes.
Yeah, anyway, we are located in the Melbourne City on
Yes.
Collins Street.
Yes, you can find us on level 7 here. You can, as a landmark, you can maybe you could look for flight center. So you can just go through the elevator on the left side and then go up to level 7. So
Yes.
it will be there.
And we are 2 minutes away from Flinders Street Station, so it's very
Yeah.
convenient to visit us. Yeah, as attendees today, we
Mm.
offer free consultation in the future. Usually it costs $49 or $99. But for the every attendees here, you can just visit us, make a booking, and our team will be happy to answer any related questions you have.
Yep. So it's great that you have attended our webinar so you could have a one-on-one free consultation with Zach personally in our office here on level 7 to 278 Collins Street. Okay, as well, if you're interested with studying, or if you have any friends or families who wish to study here in Australia, you could refer and earn up to $300 if they study vocational or bachelor's or master's or professional year. Also this month, we waive the student visa processing fee of $750 if they apply to study for like March intake, for early next year's intake. So yeah, hope you could book a consultation with our education counselors or migration agents, such as with Zach.
Hi.
Okay, so we're now on the Q&A session part. Please feel free to ask questions through maybe using your microphone. You're free to use your microphones or send us a message on box. So yeah, the floor is open.
So we have a question from Sayeda. How about the legal field? Occupations like paralegal, legal
they-
secretary, or even youth worker. Please discuss.
Yes, correct. The legal secretary has been added into the list. So I refer you to the CSOL list. If we can send you a copy after this, if you provide your email address. So any occupation on that list is enabled for the 482 visa or later on for permanent residency. Yeah, remember some caveats apply, but as a general rule, these occupations are introduced. Yes, you're right. A legal secretary is one of the hot or popular occupations we've been discussed.
Okay, from Shwe H2, can a refugee person who is currently in Malaysia can get a student visa for Griffith University in Australia by depending on your help without passport? Because a refugee person does not have a passport. Yeah,
We will need to have a passport to start a visa application. If you don't have a passport, that will be very difficult because
Yeah.
passport is the vessel for the visa.
Yes, it's a requirement when applying for any schools, including Griffith University.
And also, if you since you mentioned it's a refugee person, we need to know if you have previously applied or indicated that you were a refugee or you seek protection in Australia. Because if you've done that, there might be other things we need to consider before making a student visa application. So if you have further questions, just contact us, and we conduct a one-on-one consultation for you.
How about electrical engineering? Is it still included?
It's still included. Yeah, if it's been removed, it will be on the top of the list saying this has been removed with big red flags. This occupation is definitely still on.
Okay, next one. What are the migration pathways for medical professionals?
Medical professionals is a bit more complicated than I would say ordinary occupations. Sorry, bad wording. But you have to make sure before we can advise you, we need to know how many years practice you have, where you were graduated from, and if you are capable of, if you are you have the capacity to take that I forgot the name, that medical test for the registration in Australia, and whether you have a provisional registration or not. So it's a much longer discussion. You're welcome to contact us so I can give a one-on-one consultation. As of now, for medical field, if you are a medical doctor or MD or GP, you can get a provisional registration and start a 482 visa leading to permanent residency. But if you are a nurse, it's slightly more complicated. You need to get the registration through an exam or bridging course in Australia, conversion course in Australia, or through other ways. But once again, we need to do a one-on-one consultation if you have further questions.
How long is the required experience? So for 482, it's 1 year work experience. So it depends if you're part-time or casual. So if part-time or casual, you must have equivalent to 12 months of full-time experience. Yeah, the new requirement for the work experience is down to 1 year. How long is the invitation from employer?
Invitation is not, does not expire, but the sponsorship and nomination can expire. We'll discuss that. Usually invitation is between you and your employer. They can determine how long it takes, how long it lasts. What's the next question?
I think this one, yeah. I'm about to finish my study in Diploma of Early Childhood Education. Can I apply for SID?
You need a 1 year experience, as I mentioned. You have the qualification, which is only half of the requirement. The other half is you need to have a 1 year full-time experience. So there are a few ways. One is if you have previously worked for as a childcare worker, you may be able to use that experience. If you don't, and you are under 36 years of age, you can apply for 45 visa. Here's a trick. Once you finish this qualification, you can apply for the 45 visa under the Occupation Child Care Center Manager, which was removed from CSOL, but still on the medium and high demand. So it's a bit complicated, but just so you know that you are likely to be eligible for 45 visa or postgraduate visa. So you have 1.5 years work permission in Australia, work for 1 year, then you'll be eligible for the 482 visa as childcare worker, which we just mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there. Next is how about business analytics?
Yes, it's still on the list. Yeah.
That's good. Okay, how about what is the IT professional pathway for migration?
In general, you have two pathways, skill visa or employment visa. Both of them require you to have 1 year experience, because for the SID visa, for the 482 visa, we already mentioned you need to have 1 year full-time relevant experience. For skill visa, you need to have a skill assessment, which requires either 1 year full-time experience or professional year. So overall, you have to graduate and get 1 year experience, then either seek skill migration pathway or employment pathway. Depends on if you have a high points profile, or you have a decent employment employer who's willing to sponsor you. There's something more if you, for example, if you come here on a master degree and you have more than 2 years previous experience, you may get a skill assessment, but not needing the 1 year experience here. But yeah, it's case by case, so I don't want to go into further details.
Sorry, just to confirm,
Yeah,
the
sure.
experience must be from the home country or both home country or from Australia?
It doesn't matter, but if you have Australian qualification, you just need 1 year experience. If you have overseas qualification, they require 2 years experience. So yeah, if you, for example, you finish the bachelor degree in IT, finish 2 years experience, then came to Australia, you don't have to wait for the school to finish. You are likely to be eligible already for this skill assessment, and also for employment visa.
Okay. How about the accounting field? Is there a pathway for permanent residency?
Yes, accountant, I think accountant is still on the list, otherwise people would talk about it. If one is talking about it, it means it's still on the list. Let me just confirm.
Thank you everyone for sending your questions.
Yes, thank you. Accountant.
Just hold on until we reach.
Yeah, accountant general is still on the list, so it can be sponsored by your employer. However, you have to remember that there are caveats apply to accountant. If I can verify later, but if I'm not wrong, the company has to have at least $1 million turnover, and it has to have 5 employees. It can include you as well, but 5 full-time employees, and also they need to have you need to have the what's it called, occupation not on low skill level. For example, a bookkeeper is not enough. You need to deal with the tax. You need to deal with financial reports. You need to deal with taxation office directly, not just filing some numbers and give it to a senior accountant. So these are the caveats. By the way, when I say 5 employees, I said it can include you. That's on the condition that you are already working for the accounting firm. Otherwise, they still have to have 5 current employees. But to answer your question, yes, it's possible. Just some caveats apply. You have to assess the employer with the caveats in mind.
What is the scope or possibility for personal care workers in aged care industry?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, personal care worker and aged care workers are not included in this seesaw list, mainly because the skill level required is level 4, which is lower than usual requirement. So we have to go for labor agreement. Usually, have 2 types of labor agreement. One is called Dharma, the other one is agreement from a company. In a nutshell, it means that most of the company in metropolitan area are not able to sponsor these 2 occupations. There are 4 occupations actually: aged care worker, disability care worker, PCA, and another one is nurse support worker. These 4 occupations are popular and highly related, but they are not the employers are not able to sponsor them unless they are in Dharma program areas or labor agreement enabled companies, usually big companies. Once again, this requires a face-to-face consultation, and you're more than welcome to contact us so we can provide you more information and resources.
Could you please help me to get UN card because I am a refugee who is currently in Malaysia?
Sorry, that's not part of the experience. I'm not an expert in this. Sorry about it.
How about for pastors? Question from Patrick. Any opportunities for pastors who wish to work as chaplains?
Okay, on top of my head, I don't think it's on the list. It's not on the seesaw list, and so you are not able to use the core string from the 42 visa. But let me have a quick look, just 1 second. Let me have a quick check with my computer. Sorry, I just don't remember the skill level of the occupation, religious occupation. I need to have a look. And computer is very slow.
Feel free to send your questions again on the chat box if you have
Yes.
any. We are on until 5 p.m. today. Again, we invite you to come to our visit our office here on Collins Street to have your one-on-one consultation with Zach. So we can discuss more about your background, your experience, your work, your education. So we can give a personalized advice.
Viewers
Yeah,
do.
just
So
1 second.
this occupation is not on the seesaw list or CSOR list, but it is a ANSCO enabled occupation. So in theory, you can go for a specialist list. But I'm not too sure if the pastor can be paid $135,000 per year. It sounds bit high by my understanding, but this is in theory, there is a pathway there. And you work under this occupation for more 2 years, and you can actually get PR from there.
Also, you could visit, we could check actually it on Google for the core skills occupation list if you want to check out if your
Yeah.
occupation is actually on the list that was just released last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can send us just
Yeah.
provide your email here. We can send you the copy of the list.
Yes. Okay. So we actually missed this one question from Dee earlier. So how long does the company registration for migration purpose takes? How long does it take for company registration?
Company registration migration, not a term I'm familiar with. I'm not too sure which registration are you talking about for migration purpose, but for 482 visa, we usually involve 3 stages. Stage 1 is the sponsorship. That's prove that the business can sponsor people. Second stage is the nomination to prove that the business has a position available, ready, genuine position for the applicant. And the third stage is visa application. So the applicant take this nomination. There's nothing called a company registration for migration purpose.
Mm.
So maybe give us some clarification. Just for your reference, for the sponsorship, it's usually pretty quick, a few 1 month or so, and it's valid for usually 5 years. For the second stage, it's an individual nomination, so it has to be linked to the applicant him or herself. So there is no registration per se. So yeah, I'm not too sure what the question is.
Okay.
Yeah.
From Sheila Ramos, hi, 38 years old, degree holder in the Philippines, with a certificate nursing assistant in Singapore, certificate in caregiving in Singapore as well, and special need nanny in Singapore for 6 years. Sorry, maybe you're asking if there's a pathway for you if you are holding this.
So yes,
education
I don't
program.
see a question, but I assume you want to know if this has a pathway. As I mentioned, this falls into that 4 occupations: aged care worker, disability care worker, PCA, personal care assistant, and nurse support worker. So if you are working for one of these 4 occupations, you need to have a labor agreement enabled sponsor. Once again, you need to contact us and we'll give you some points, so point you some ways. But in a nutshell, you need to find an employer in the regional area or one of the big employers who can offer labor agreement sponsorship.
I hope that's clear. Okay.
Is primary teacher still included in the skills in demand?
Yes.
Mm, Very much so, yes.
Yes,
It's
it's a
included.
very straight, short answer. Yes.
That's good. Okay.
Hi, I'm going to start a new business in Australia. Can I sponsor anyone as manager? Or my business needs to be 1 year old to sponsor anyone?
Good question. First of all, if it's a new business, the sponsorship duration is going to be 1 year. I just mentioned that usually 5 years. What I had in mind is if it's a new business, they won't give you 5 years permission. They usually give you just 1 year. And also you need to make sure we usually recommend the business to operate for a year before they can make any sponsorship, because that's when you can have all the numbers to show for. For example, you won't within a year you don't even have a full financial report. So on official level, department doesn't, it's not very clear how much turnover is going to be, how much salary is going to be, and there will be a lot of explanations to do, especially if you want to answer a management position. Usually pretty high, and the business has to be on a certain size to offer a management position. So there are a lot of moving parts, and it will be more complicated. With the exception of which I just mentioned, retail manager. It's applicable to business big and small, because any retail store can have the genuine need for a retail manager. So without that exception, I would say it's better to wait for at least 12 months operation before moving for nomination.
From Bob, is the experience for 482 visa to be considered from one employer, or can it be from different employers?
Yes, as I just mentioned, after last week, you can accumulate experience from different employers, providing that you were working under one eligible or under one sponsorship, and you were paid on the correct level for the sponsorship. In that case, you can add the experience together. I repeat myself, if you work for 6 months as a chef for restaurant A, then 1.5 years for restaurant B, and both as chefs. After 1.5 years for restaurant B, you probably can get the PR sponsorship already.
It will take the income should be 73,150.
Yeah,
1 year.
73150 or prescribed in the nomination. Sometimes in nomination you indicate that the minimum income is 73 or 78. Anyway, it has to be comply. You have to comply to that nominated salary, which Nicole is right, and the minimum is 73150.
Okay, next, how about management consultant?
Yes, still on the list.
Okay,
Question from Ali Lee. Childcare programs have work placements during studies total to 440 hours. Yes, which is almost a year. Can this work placement hours used for 1 year work experience for skills and demand visa?
Is it not always, because the 440 hours usually on either underpaid or not paid unpaid. If that's the case, you are not able to use any of it for to claim work experience. Also, it's not counted by hours, it counted by weeks. You have to provide 52 weeks to claim a 1 year experience. So the density of each week also matters, even if you are paid. For example, if there's 1 week you only work for 10 hours, you cannot claim that. You cannot say I worked for 2 days. It has to be on a weekly basis, because that's usually how the pay unit is. I call it pay unit, it's not a formal term, but yeah, every week you get paid, so you can claim how many hours, and you can claim whether it's full-time, part-time experience.
Question from Furkan. Options for doctor with MBBS and has cleared PLAB with GMC UK registered. Can they get skilled migration or any other pathway that can lead towards PR?
I'm sorry, to be honest, I'm not too sure about those words, what they mean. I need to have a individual consultation with you. So these terms are not very not, at least to a migration agent, it's not very common. I need to have a quick look at this. So I'm more than happy to conduct a personal in one-on-one consultation with you, but I have to move on from this question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
From Senimilia, what about quantity surveyor with an Australian qualification?
Yes, it's still on the list, and with 1 year experience, you can be sponsored by Australian company.
Okay. Later on, we'll share Zach's email address if you wish to.
Yes, we
Yeah,
will
send your resume.
we'll include our email address, so you can contact us.
And then from Sayeda, which would you say is an easier pathway, paralegal or youth worker? And what will be the length of each pathway?
That's vastly different. I'm not too sure why you can compare these two, but depends on I guess depends on which one you can find a full-time employment first. Youth worker takes shorter, because paralegal you have to do the PC practicing certificate thing, and you will have to take time, and it's harder to find an employment, and also yeah, you have to get a practicing certificate, and you have to have the full certificate before you can be sponsored. Also, once again, youth worker might be easier to find a job. However, just give me 1 second. Yes, youth worker is still on CSOL list, so it's a eligible occupation for A2 visa.
Okay. Okay. From Sesman Lulu, I'm working as an air conditioning technician and mechanic here in the Philippines. Am I qualified as a skilled worker? If so, do I need to take the English exam, and how many points required there?
Air condition, just let me check.
Mhm.
And they can air condition and the mechanic service plumber and air conditioner and refrigeration mechanics. The occupations are both on list, so you can be considered as a skilled worker. I just repeat myself. You need to find an employer who's willing and able to sponsor you. You need to have a salary of no less than 73,150. You need to have a relevant qualification, 1 year experience in the last 5 years. You need to pass the English test. Then you can be sponsored by an Australian company.
Okay. And for the points?
It's not a point. We're not okay. When it comes to points, it's a different visa program. It's called visa program. 109, 189, 190, and 491. It's a different visa program. We are not going to discuss that today, but once again, we help a lot of clients through skill visa program, and you are more than welcome to so we can answer your questions.
Okay. So again, we'll share the email address of Zach later on.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, hi, sorry, what's this? From Nokia C21, hi, I'm Boniface. Any driving jobs, manual or medical jobs? Sorry, what
Medical,
do you mean by that?
feel much appreciate.
If you
Okay.
could, sorry.
I'm not too sure what driving job or medical job means. We need more details. For
Yes.
example, we usually we will start from your resume and let's start with your resume. Please send your resume so we can have a look. But usually driving job, like truck driver is under labor agreement, so it's a very specific company oriented occupation. So you need to find a company who has a labor agreement, who has a labor agreement and find a job, find a sponsorship. Then you can be sponsored. For medical job, that's even more broad. I'm not sure which medical job are you referring to, but just remember most of them will require some level of registration or license or registration. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
From Julianne Vizcaino. I am currently working in aged care as personal care worker with 1.5 years experience. My company is not offering sponsorship, it's not in the labor agreement list. I'm a student at the moment and looking for a possible company who will sponsor in regional locations. Any leads or any suggestions? My visa will expire in June next year.
June next year. Okay, so you still have time. There are many areas that are Dharma program enabled. So in those areas, you can be sponsored by any eligible employers. For example, in Victoria, there are 2 Dharma program. We work in Melbourne, by the way, so we are more familiar with the Victorian situation in Victoria. In Victoria, there are 2 Dharma programs. One is Goulburn Valley. The other one is near the town Warrnambool. So if you find an employer in these 2 areas, you will be able to be sponsored. You will be able to find a sponsorship from these 2 companies and leading to permanent resident. Yeah, you can then you can be sponsored by this company. So what I encourage to do is to first you can contact us and they'll give you ideas where these programs are, and then find an employer. Then we can assess the employer, help you to get a permanent residency. You said you have 6 month time. That's enough, but you need to start acting now. Where are we? Sorry.
Julianne Vizcaino,
Okay.
sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, let us know if you have any further questions.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, Shue. You have a question again with the UN card. Unfortunately, we don't
Yeah.
assist with the UN card for any refugee. So we work for migration side with different kinds of visas, but not for
Yes.
UN.
Yes, I'm so
For-
sorry. I
Yeah.
understand the situation may be tough, but I only specialize in migration law in Australia. I cannot even help if you want a New Zealand visa. So with the UN refugee rules and those articles, I'm not really familiar. So I'm so sorry we can't help you.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't hear about the English test. Well, you need to take the English test, and at the moment, the requirement is 5.0 in each band for the or equivalent in PTE for the 485 visa and 6.0 for the permanent residency. This may change in the next few years, but at the moment, it stands.
Okay. We actually have last 3 minutes. Okay. Okay, from Beam, electrical engineering draftsperson or electrical engineering technician with 2 years Australian education, diploma level, overseas experience of over 10 years, onshore now and work gap of close to 2 years. What are the chances?
If you find an employer, I think your profile is pretty strong to take the sponsorship. So if you find an employer who's by the way, I keep saying employer because that's the topic today. If you want to discuss other options like skill visa option, we can go for you can contact us or wait for our next webinar. We probably will conduct a skill visa webinar. Sorry, off the topic, I digress. For this case, I think from what you see, what I see here, you are pretty strong. You just need to find a sponsor who's willing and able to sponsor you. Then we can organize a visa for you.
Again, sorry to Shue because we are not able to assist you with your UN card. Okay, and then So Amit, yeah,
Computer
Bianca?
engineer and working as programmer, data center, cybersecurity specialist with 15 years experience in Saudi Arabia and looking for migration with family. Please let me know any pathways.
Both pathways will be available. You can either work as a, sorry, you can either seek pathway as a skill visa. So that's the points system comes in if you are familiar. The other one is if you can find an employer with your experience. I can see that you've been working for quite a long time. So it's very likely that you are eligible for sponsorship. But you need to, if we are discussing the skill employment visa pathway, first you need to find a sponsor. If you want to go through skill visa pathway, we'll invite you for a consultation face to face by email or by WeChat. Sorry, not WeChat, WhatsApp. Sorry. Yes, we can go for that. But if you are from Saudi Arabia, Arab countries, yes, Arabia. Sorry, my tongue. One thing you have to remember is when you verify your work experience, you need to find at least two types of evidence that you've been paid. In my previous experience, sometimes it can be tricky. So you need to find there are four types the acceptable evidence, including pay bank statements, tax file, tax return documents, or superannuation or retirement account contributions. You need to provide at least two types to verify your work experience. So before moving forward, you need to sort out whether you can prove that you've been paid for at least 2 years of this experience in the last, sorry, 1 year in the last 5 years for work visa purpose, or 2 years for skill visa, skill assessment purpose. And yeah, yes, we are more than happy to carry on and help you to find a pathway.
Okay.
So I have, excuse me, can I talk to you? I
Hi.
have experience and I can provide that such evidence. So how we can proceed further?
You have experience and you can provide evidence. So you are saying that you can provide pay slips, bank statements, or tax files, right? That's in that way, we will need you to send us a resume, and also we will need you to confirm whether you have an existing Australian employer or someone who can offer you a job position. If the answer is yes, then we go for the employment visa, which is much quicker. If the answer is no or maybe or not at the moment, we will have to go through skill visa pathway, which we will start with a skill assessment. So yeah, from your side, what we need to do is we need to confirm two things. One is your resume, send us your resume. Two is we need you to confirm whether you have an Australian employer or not.
Yeah, for the time being now, no, I
Now
don't have
now
it.
you send us your resume and we organize the skill assessment first and see what happens next.
Okay,
Okay.
sure, I will share.
And thank you so much, everyone, for your questions and for attending our webinar today. Again, this is Zach, our immigration agent. His email address is actually on the group chat. So it's Zach, ZACK at asiapacific.com. Please feel free to send your resume and your questions to him directly for any questions. We'll be happy to support you with your permanent residency goals here in Australia.
And
So, yeah.
sorry, you can also use these two emails on the
Yes.
screen, and we work as a team. We will reply to you and address your concerns as soon as possible. Once again, we are very sorry we cannot help with the refugee related inquiries. It's really not something I can in my expertise. Sorry about it.
Okay, so email is also c6@asiapacificgroup.com and visa8@asiapacificgroup.com, or again, zach@asiapacificgroup. So yeah, we look forward to seeing you in our office. Again, we can give you free one-on-one migration advice in our office. We would be waiving the fee, which could range up to $99 since you have attended our webinar today. So again, thank you so much. And this is Asia Pacific Group. We look forward to seeing you and yeah, reading your emails. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.